welcome to another episode of your program, All Eyes on Africa. And I'm your host, Kemi Fadojutimi. For these past 3 days, Leon Sullivan Summit has been, believe me, I wish you were here in Abuja to be part of the action. And I have the privilege and honor because like we all know, without a dream, there is no progress or achievement. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream that to result to surmountable progress and achievement. And I have with me today the person that continue on this great man legacy. And he's in person of Martin Luther King III and realizing the dream. You're welcome.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and I am grateful to share today and to be on your show particularly here in this great country.
Thank you. Well, my question is, your great dad, late Reverend Martin Luther King, had a dream. What are you doing in continuing on the dream?
Well, let me first say, as you stated initially, I have started an organization that began in January, and as you may know,
This year. Okay.
My mom passed in January, and I wanted to try to do something to continue the work of my father and my mother. And as a result, came the new organization, Realizing the Dream. 39 years ago, my father was working in the States in 1967, trying to build a coalition of poor blacks, poor whites, poor Native Americans, poor Hispanic and Latino Americans, poor Americans from all walks of life, to say to our policymakers in Washington that we demand the right to decent jobs of decent pay. Unfortunately, he did not live to see it come to fruition. And while that was a major effort, it was called the Poor People's Campaign, nothing really ever happened much.
You said Poor People's Campaign?
Poor People's Campaign, yes. It was designed to represent the interests of poor people. Well, 39 years later, I'm engaged with this new organization to continue his work and my mom's, called Realizing the Dream. And the first initiative that we are embarking upon is a tour in America of about 20 communities. And what we are calling it is a looking, listening, and learning tour of communities where large amounts of poverty exist. Our objective is to focus America's attention on poverty, ultimately so that a plan can be put in place to begin to reduce poverty. Because I believe with all the wealth that exists in America, that it's a shame and a disgrace that we have 36 million people who are living at the poverty level that we know of. We have over 40 million people who have no health insurance that we know of. Obviously, the numbers are probably larger than that, but those are the ones that we statistically know exist. So our first phase of Realizing the Dream is to complete the tour. We've done about 8 cities at this point, and we will do 20 before it's over. Then in October, in the fall, we will have a summit in Washington. I'm calling for a national summit to share our findings from the tour, but also to bring together thought leaders to talk about, again, how we can focus and reduce poverty. And then in January, during the King holiday, I plan to launch an initiative, a new initiative that will begin to help us address poverty. Okay. Now, I must say that I had started an effort in 2001 called Revitalizing Martin Luther King Streets. Okay. And unfortunately, 9/11 came and everything went focused on terrorism. I think it's time now to begin that effort again, revitalizing Martin Luther King streets, and that will start a process of helping us address poverty. There are other things that Realize the Dream is going to be doing, like conflict resolution and nonviolence training, like leadership training, and the third component is community and economic development.
Okay, well, talking about moving forward, realizing the dream. I have this question. Your late father, the great, he's our hero, and I must tell you, we are proud to have him around, and if you permit me to say that Martin Luther King Sr. is the first to the African American as Jesus Christ is to the Jews and the Gentiles. And are you going to say in totality we are enjoying the dividend of his sacrifice at this time of age where there is war, where there is...
Well, what I'd have to say is there have been some individuals, and quite a few individuals, who have made great strides and progress, and who are benefiting from the doors that he and his team opened. But it has not reached the masses, so that there's still a mass number of persons and a disproportionate number of people of color who are living in poverty. And so as a result, the dream, the vision, has not yet been manifest for them. That means we have to keep working on it. I believe it can be achieved in America, and I believe we can do far better in the world community. Because when we talk about the world, whether it's Nigeria, or whether it's Zambia or Zimbabwe, or whether it's Kenya or any country in sub-Saharan Africa, there are many challenges as it relates to poverty. And we've got to find a way to create opportunity and options for more people. And that's what a spirit of entrepreneurship does. That's what a conference like the Leon Sullivan Conference does, brings people together so that business can be done and the climate can be, the tone can be set for business to be done.
Well, great. Again, I'll keep referring to the late Reverend Martin Luther King. He is an apostle of peace, nonviolence, and freedom for all. What do you want to fashion your realizing the dream to be?
Well, realizing the dream, when we looked at my father's, one of the major objectives he had was to eradicate poverty, racism, and militarism. And all of those are forms of violence. Poverty, when we keep people impoverished, it's a form of violence. When we embrace racism and say things that are hurtful and institutionally do things to hurt people, that's a form of violence. And obviously militarism, the military is structured around violence and controlling people. So his objective, he felt, was to see how we could reduce or eradicate those triple evils. Realizing the dream is fashioned in such a way so that we, in focusing on poverty, are focused on a structural violence. The day that we are able to create opportunities for people, the day that we are able to, for example, the four tenets I say,
yes.
If we're able to create good jobs, decent and solid education, decent housing, and health care for people, then we've dramatically changed their lives. And the climate has to be created for that to happen. But also, we will reduce violence because no longer will we be oppressing people. Our society and our world oppresses people. Whether it's intentional or not, I won't necessarily, it seems like it is. But the reality is, it is done every day all over the world. And we as a world community have got to do a better job of allowing people to participate in an economy and in their countries, because there's so much hope vested within people if you give them an opportunity.
great. And giving them opportunity to empower themselves is what your program is all about. And while you were talking earlier on, you said something about the 3 L's. I would say look, listen, and learn. And exactly that's what my folks are willing to do now. We are hungry, to learn, to know what's going on around us, among our community. Is this going to be a yearly thing, or it's just going to be just for?
No, it's not going to, and it's not going to just be domestic. We will start in the United States, but ultimately we plan to build bridges around the world, because the problem, it's a huge problem. We got to start and build an infrastructure in the United States, and when that infrastructure is up and running, it can probably run on its own, and then perhaps we will move to other communities around the world, because I believe what my dad was able to do was to build bridges with people in the United States, but around the world. And part of his legacy, and part of my philosophy is that I too can build bridges with leaders around our world to help address these issues, help them become issues that are addressed in the forefront. And when one of the things that Ambassador Young said, and I certainly agree with, some of the brightest people in our world happen to be Nigerians.
Yes.
The Nigerian people that I know are extremely talented. Now, sometimes the energy seems to be focused in the counterproductive ways. At least that is the image that exists in the States of Nigerians. But whenever you find out who is behind major efforts, whether it's to break various codes, oftentimes it's Nigerians who've been used to do that. So if that's a negative, then why not could a positive way of using that energy be embraced? And because we need, what Nigerians bring to the table, the world needs.
Yes.
And we just need to find a constructive and creative way to use it, as opposed to it sometimes being used in a negative way.
Yes, thank you for that. And talking about the media telling the whole world who Nigeria is, that we are not, and I know you've been in Nigeria several times, but coming along with the Leon Sullivan Summit, what do you have to tell my viewers about your impression about this country? Well,
number one, it's certainly a beautiful country with tremendous, not just tremendous potential, but I see people working very hard. Number one, trying to survive. So that says something about the character of the people. I see complicated situations, and I also see, I've been blessed to have been in meetings where leadership is, and I see people acting in a civil manner, not an uncivil manner, as some might think that it is. But what I don't see enough of is, yet I should say, is sharing of enough opportunities yet. I believe that's happening. I think that President Obasanjo has done an incredible job over the years that he's been here, and it's hopeful that the next president will continue to build on that legacy. Anytime you can find a way to get a country out of debt, that's a major phenomenon. And if one can build, whoever becomes the head of state must build on that, and then continue to find ways to create opportunities to build even a broader economy. Because the other thing that I know that's being worked on, but must be worked on more, is building a